Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and this is the Baby Lock Jubilant. Now, this is a fabulous machine. Maybe you have an old machine that needs to be replaced. This one is really worth taking a look at. So no matter if you have a sewing room or maybe you need an extra machine to be able to take to classes and things like that, or maybe you want to put it in your motorhome, or maybe you have to tuck your machine away into a closet or a cupboard when you're done sewing, this is a fabulous machine for that. This machine has the LED screen where you can control your stitch width and your stitch length just by touching a button. It has 80 different stitches, including several different style buttonholes that are just a one step. It makes the buttonhole for you. It's really easy to get to a different stitch. You simply dial to the stitch that you want. So it's very, very easy to use. On the machine here in the front, you're going to see the reverse key is very easy to get to. You have a single stitch button. You also have a needle down button. This is really cool. Have you ever used your machine and you go to stop and the needle is not either up nor down and you have to use the hand wheel to get it in the right spot? This machine always stops with the machine and the needle in the perfect position. So this is really pretty fabulous. And then you also have a variable speed. But let's look at the creme de la creme, the most exciting part on this machine. Okay, it's just one of many. Take a look at the needle threader. About threading on this machine. It's really easy because the threading path is marked right on the machine so you can't forget. And I have the thread ready to be threaded. And there's this little lever right here. Take a look at this. Well, I'm going to put my foot down first. So here's the little lever. Boom, it's threaded. How easy is that? Because you know, every year, those eyes of the needles get smaller and smaller all the time. In addition to this fabulous needle threader that is oh so easy to use, you have the Easy Set drop-in bobbin system, which is pretty cool because you can see how much bobbin thread you have left. You don't have to maneuver anything in a difficult manner to get in there to change the bobbin. And it even has a thread cutter so you can trim the tail very easily. And when you do, the tail's the perfect length. It does have a free arm so you can sew cuffs and small items, baby items, pant legs, all those types of things. And then it just slides right back on. Another thing that's pretty cool about this machine is that you can drop the feed dog so you can do free motion and not have to worry about getting a plate to cover up the feed dogs. So now let's talk about just some basic stitches. I have it on a straight stitch right now. And if I am going to be stitching along here, I can change the speed if I want to. When I stop, look, it stopped with the needle in the full down position, so I can just lift my presser foot and rotate. So if you're sewing a seam, you know how terrible it is if you stop and you raise the presser foot and you don't have your needle in the fabric. That's dangerous territory because you're going to get off that seam and it's not going to be a straight seam for you. So this is really fabulous. So now if you want to do seams and you're working with fabric, that is heavy, this machine has some great features for that. So I'm going to make a simple straight stitch seam on this fabric. You can sew on this machine without using a foot control. You can use the start stop button. So if I unplug my foot control from the machine, then I can use the start stop button. So you can sew any way you want to. We've done a nice straight stitch on here, but now let's encapsulate these edges so that we don't get all these strings hanging off. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to go over here and I want to choose stitch number, let's go with number 13. Now as I'm moving, I don't know if you can see right here, but right here it says J next to the foot. That's the stitch, the type of foot you should have on for the stitch that we have chosen. And right now that's a straight stitch. But when I move to 13, or go past 13, that requires a G foot, and that is in your little bucket here, but we're going to make it work anyway. Hopefully you can see that we've got this nice little stitch that's encapsulating the edges of the fabric, so that way when it's laundered, it's not going to fray. Now, have you ever noticed on like jeans that you buy at the store, they have this wonderful top stitch on them, but it's hard to find a thread that's the same weight. So I'm going to go back here to stitch number 5. And this is a triple straight stitch. And this stitch has a couple of different really neat uses. You can use this for top stitching. It also works really well as a straight stitch on knit fabrics because it has a lot of stretch. Right now I'm at a stitch length of 2.5 and I'm going to take that up to be longer so that way it has more of an impact on my project. And so then you get this beautiful top stitch. And if you're using a color similar to that of what you have in your on your jeans, if you're doing hemming or repair, you're good to go. So now I just folded this up once, then again, and that is very similar to the weight that you're going to find when you're mending a pair of jeans. And so I'm going to go back to my straight stitch here and I'm going to lengthen that again because it's a pair of jeans. You don't want a tiny stitch, but if you're doing quilting or anything, you can use tiny little stitches if you're doing like paper piecing or anything like that. So as you can see, this does a beautiful job even on heavyweight fabrics. So it does a great job on stitching there. So not only does it do that, but it also does a wonderful job on knits. So I'm going to go up to stitch number 30, and this is a stitch that kind of looks like a honeycomb. When you're working with knit fabrics, it's important that you use a stitch that has a nice amount of stretch, so that way when you put the garment on and off, you're not pulling out the stitches or popping the stitches. Okay, so here's our nice little seam here, and look at the amount of stretch that you have on that, and there's no popping in the stitches because of the honeycomb style stitch that we did. So as you can see, this machine has a lot of features, and they're features that are going to make your sewing experience so much more enjoyable because they are definitely features that are far more convenient. We have that advanced needle threader. You have the easy to see and easy to access bobbin. We have the needle up, needle down button. You can even sew with or without the foot control in. We have variable speed. There are 80 stitches in this machine, and you also have, I didn't even tell you this before, but you have a twin needle button, which means if you're using a twin needle for anything, it will put that on so it knows that it can't make a stitch too wide. It also has the free arm, and it has the threading right on the machine, printed right on the machine. So when you get this out and want to sew, you don't have to worry about not remembering how to thread it. And it does have a very convenient carry handle, so you can easily transport it to a different location very securely. And you can also pop it inside of a cupboard or a closet, and you can get it out at any time. So great machine, whether you're replacing an old machine that may be difficult or persnickety. This machine has stitches for modern day fabrics as well as traditional fabrics, and it's so easy to use. I think you're gonna absolutely love it.